Hello, I'm Melody. Welcome to Myanmar Today Review. This is where we visit the top stories for this week from Myanmar Today. Here are the reports from our reporters from this week. Myanmar heading to digital platform for investment, and more Asian investors are entering the country. MOHS reissues order not to gather 15 or more than 15 persons. No plan to introduce digital system to pay fine for violation of Vehicle Safety Act. China ensures the outbreak is under control despite the growing reported cases. The current situation of good flow. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at the feature local news from this week. The annual Wazo robe offering ceremony was held at the Sasana Mahabatman of the Upa Dasanti Pagoda in Naypyidaw on Wednesday, with the offering of donation items to the Venerable Sayadaws and Buddhist monks. The ceremony was graced by members of the Sangha, and it was attended by President U Win Myint and First Lady Daw Chok Cho, State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, and senior government officials. Before the ceremony, the state councillor donated alms, fruits, flowers, water, and lights to the Buddha image in the Sasana Bateman. After delivering a sermon and recitation of Parita by members of the Sangha, President U Win Myint and wife Daw Chok Cho offered a wazo robe and offertories to the Bamo Sayadaw, Dr. Ba Denda, Kumara V. Vamsa. State Councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi presented a wazo robe and offertories to the leading Sayadaw of the Danlin Minjiang Monastery. A Myanmar-Japan investment dialogue on economic recovery after COVID-19 and new investment opportunities was held on Wednesday via video conference at the Ministry of Investment and Foreign Economic Relations in Naypyidaw. The state councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi delivered a keynote address via a video clip in which the state councillor highlighted the role of Japanese investment in enabling the creation of thousands of well-paid quality jobs, and that quality job creation would remain at the heart of the Myanmar Sustainable Development Plan. As part of the virtual Myanmar-Japan investment dialogue, the Myanmar government unveiled 2 new major infrastructure projects and associated investment opportunities to over 1,000 Japanese business persons in attendance. Mr. Sasaki Nobuhiko, Japan External Trade Organization chairperson, noted that Myanmar was becoming an increasingly attractive investment destination, that Japanese companies could today feel Myanmar's newfound dynamism, and expressed hope that the event would spark further Japanese investment in Myanmar over the coming months and years. And I believe it's time now for our first report. Until the month of May of 2019 to 2020 fiscal years, Myanmar has over $4.1 billion approved foreign direct investment. Out of the countries investing in Myanmar, the Asian countries have more contributions. For the conveniences of the investor, DICA and MIC provide online services in order to head towards digitalization.
Myanmar is receiving the foreign investment at a steady rate, and it has already reached $4.1 billion of approved foreign direct investment until the end of May of this fiscal year, according to the data released by the Directorate of Investment and Companies Administration (DICA). According to the statistic, until the month of May, the leading countries and regions with most investment in Myanmar during 8 months of 2019-2020 fiscal years are Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, China, the United Kingdom, and the Republic of Korea. Most of the countries on the top of the list are Asian countries. Professor Dr. Aung Thontat, member of Myanmar Investment Commission (MIC), spoke to MI Radio through an online interview.
The policy of the government to look what is called the Look East policy. Asian countries are very keen to invest in Myanmar, and we are very keen to accept them. At the same time, we also feel that there are still many Western companies, companies from Europe, companies from the USA, who are interested to be engaged with us. And therefore, we hope that after the COVID-19, there will be more investments. Because at the moment, we have to understand that Myanmar has a lot of potential. Myanmar has a lot of potential in many sectors. For example, in the fishery sector, because we have a long coastline. So the question is, how do we exploit and how do we manage and how do we ensure that the resources from the sea can be exploited for the benefit of the country? We also have, land resources like minerals, oil, gas, etc. All these will need to be exploited. But at the same time, we have to ensure that these resources are exploited in a very responsible manner.
For ensuring the easier procedures for investors and better way of receiving foreign investment amid COVID-19, DICA and MIC provide online services which are further being accelerated. Instead of laborious and lengthy process to submit proposal, the investors can easily submit the investment proposal through online.
This digitalization of DICA and MIC would further accelerate, and therefore we would like to make sure that any potential foreign investors would have no difficulty and that the process can be done and achieved very quickly. But we, at the same time, at MIC, would ensure that we follow standard operating procedures, and therefore we would make sure that the processing, once the MIC approval is done, could be done as quickly as possible so that investors could invest and start operation as soon as possible. This is our aspiration, this is our goal, and we are trying to use whatever digital technology that is available to us to ensure that these can be done. Now, I'm very happy to say that the foreign investors have expressed their appreciation for the ease of use of the online applications. They have no difficulty at all, and therefore they encourage us to further develop such facilities.
Amid COVID-19 outbreak, the e-commerce in the country becomes booming. Despite online selling and buying, the country is heading towards the digital platform in every aspect, including teaching, working, and most importantly, economy.
We have to get to the digital economy. This is very important. Most of our people are very young, and therefore they are very hardworking, they are well educated, and therefore the question for us is, this is why at MIC we are trying to encourage digital technology. We are trying to encourage that many companies would come in to invest in the digital economy of Myanmar. During the past 4 months of COVID, there's a lot of e-commerce that took place. So we now have online commerce, online business, and therefore what we need is to accelerate this. We have to encourage, especially the young people, to focus on digital technology and digital business. And I'm sure this would encourage foreign companies to come in to help us with the digitalization of our economy. We know that many of the companies in Myanmar, the banks, are also on the road towards digital transformation. And therefore, I'm hoping that digital transformation will be the big area in the future in terms of foreign direct investment.
With more convenient facilities providing for investors, the foreign investment approved amount increases by $747.216 million in the month of May, with a sharp increase amount of $648 from Japan. News reported by Dora Susan from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on Myanmar heading to digital platform for investment, and more Asian investors are entering the country. The Ministry of Health and Sports has reissued the order on Wednesday to prohibit from gathering 15 or more than 15 people, increasing the number of 5 people under the authority of Article 21B of the Prevention and Control of Communicable Disease Law, starting from the 1st of August. Since the infections broke out, Myanmar has been very timid in easing the restrictions, including wearing masks and ban on gathering more than 5 people. Authorities are keeping an eye on the situation to see because easing the measures enables to result in an emergence of local transmission of the virus.
The Ministry of Health and Sports has reissued the order to prohibit from gathering 15 or more than 15 persons, increasing the number of 5 persons under the authority of Article 21B of the Prevention and Control of Communicable Disease Law starting from 1st August. Previously, the Ministry of Health and Sports had issued the order to prohibit from gathering 5 or more than 5 persons, except for some reasons to curb the spread of COVID-19 and to implement preventive measures since 16 April. The Prevention and Control of Communicable Disease Law will apply to those who breach the orders and instructions related to the COVID-19 issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports and the Public Health Department. Donald Nguyen, Regional Representative from Along Township, spoke to MI Radio about the order.
As the Ministry of Health and Sports reissued the orders of gathering more than 15 persons, it's a kind of relaxing the restrictions. But now, people need to follow the guidelines. According to the Union Minister of the Ministry of Health and Sports, 60% of the infection cases are asymptomatic. As we have seen, people find a lot of difficulties when there's a lot of restriction at first. But now, they are accustomed to the new normal lifestyles. Even though the infection cases seem fewer, we can know whether the second wave can outbreak. Following the rules will be the best solution for all of us.
Dr. Myan Thuy also said that the public still need to follow the guidelines for COVID-19 so that a potential second wave of COVID-19 virus could be avoided by holding the video conferencing with the state councillor. It is the time to relax, but people need to be alert to the possibility of potential wave of infection. Authorities are keeping on watching the situation to see because easing the measures enables to result in an emergence of local transmission of the virus. Mata Moncho from Yangon Township spoke to MI Radio. She said,
All we have to do is protection. I'm glad to hear that the government has eased the restrictions, but I'm worried about the daily transportation we have to use, which is very crowded, and some don't even wear the mask. I'm afraid of the infections, even though the local transmission hasn't been found out for a long time. We also faced a lot of difficulties when there were a lot of restrictions, but we cannot complain about it. I'm now back to my work and I have to prevent the infections by myself.
Since the infections broke out, Myanmar has been very timid in easing the restrictions, including wearing the masks and the ban on gathering more than 5 persons. Despite the relatively low rate infection, many hotels, restaurants, and other businesses have been reopened. The government has reopened the schools, and the places of worship in big cities has started to reopen back. Aside from the restrictions, the government has relied on quarantine and continuing the contact tracing to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. With the limited testing capability, the Ministry of Health and Sports tested over 110,000 people. Nearly 2,000 laboratory tests are carried out daily across the country. New laboratory in Tangji is going to open in August soon.
That's the report on MOHS reissues ordered not to gather 15 or more than 15 persons. The second Bidulodol continued the 7th-day meeting of its 17th regular session on Thursday. At the session, Bidulodol representative from Mokmai Township, U Sai-ngao Sai-hein, raised a question about the digital system to pay fine for violation vehicle law. Following the session, U Zhou-myo, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Transport and Communications, responded to the discussion.
During a few years, the rate of using vehicles in the country is obviously increasing. At present, the rate of violating Vehicle Safety and Vehicle Management Act is also increasing simultaneously, and the crimes related with traffic rules can be seen in everyday life. There are more than hundreds of thousands of motor vehicle law violations in the city. The second Pidu Ludo continued 17th meeting of its 17th regular section on Thursday. At the section, Pidu Ludo representative from Myanmar Township, U Sai-ngao Sai-hein, raised a question about the digital system to pay fine for violation vehicle laws.
အဓိကဆောင်ရွက်တဲ့လုပ်ငန်းကတော့တန်ကြေးဆောင်တဲ့စနစ် digital payment စနစ်နဲ့အမြန်ဆုံးလှုပ်ဆောင်ဖို့လိုအပ်နေတာဖြစ်ပါတယ်
We've already heard that the traffic control centers are recording the traffic flow and taking legal action against the vehicles violating the Vehicles Act, and also services for transfer ownerships, renewal of vehicle registrations, driver license, and inspection of other vehicles have been upgraded to an easy and simple digital platform via online. Mainly, the digital system for fine payment needs to be introduced quickly. I suppose that the digital system for fine payment will be helpful in becoming a streamlined and transparent method for both respective officials and vehicle owners. On the other hand, this system can prevent the corruptions dealing with motor vehicle violations. So I would like to ask that if there is no plan for action to be taken by the digital system for making fine payment, which is useful for streamlined and transparent method of penalty for violation of the Vehicle Act.
Following the section, U Zhou-myo, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Transport and Communications, responded to the discussion.
2020 ပြည်နှစ်ပြည်ထောင်စုလွှတ်တော်ဥပဒေအမှတ်6ဖြင့်26ရက်5လ2020ရက်နေ့မှာပြဋ္ဌာန်းခဲ့တဲ့ယာဉ်အန္တရာယ်
The Chapter 11, Rules in Taking Action, the Chapter 13, Prohibition, Chapter 14, Penalties are prescribed in the Vehicle Safety and Vehicle Management Act. According to this law, the prohibitions, penalties, and taking action for traffic violation are being carried out by the traffic inspection teams. The traffic inspection teams are conducting the awareness-raising campaign for traffic, the regulating and taking action processes. The vehicles which violates are reported to the traffic police under the Ministry of Home Affairs. The traffic police set up the case and reported to the respective courts. Then, the respective courts inspected and ordered the case and then decided to pay the fine in which amount at the court. After that, the court handed over the fine payment to the Myanmar Economic Bank. So, the fine payment for violating the traffic rules are decided at the court, and the violators also can pay for the fine at the court. I would like to answer that there is still no plan to introduce the digital system for fine payment for Violation Vehicle Act in both Road and Transport Administration Department (RTAD) and the Ministry of Home Affairs.
The vehicle inspection teams comprise of Regional General Administration Department, Road and Transport Administration Department, RTAD, Myanmar Fire Services Department, the respective City Development Committee, Supervisory Committee for Motor Vehicles. At present, there are about 1.1 million vehicles registered across the country, and about half of the which has been registered in Yangon. I am Jyoti Ritu. This is news reporting from MR Radio.
That's the report on no plan to introduce digital system to pay fine for violation of Vehicle Safety Act. On Tuesday, the Chinese mainland registered 101 new COVID-19 cases. The National Health Commission said among them, 3 are from overseas and 98 are the domestically transmitted cases. Chinese government is ensuring the outbreak is under control despite the growing number of reported cases. This report covers the latest outbreak situations in China, the emergency response measures exercised there, and the confirmed cases globally.
As of 28th of July, the Chinese mainland registered 101 new COVID-19 cases. The National Health Commission said among them, 3 are from overseas and 98 are the domestically transmitted cases. Of the domestic transmissions, 89 were reported in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, 8 in Liaoning Province, and 1 in Beijing. No deaths related to the disease were registered on Tuesday, while 10 COVID-19 patients were discharged from hospitals. Altogether, 78,944 patients had been discharged from hospitals by Tuesday, and a total of 84,060 COVID-19 cases had been reported on the Chinese mainland, including 4,634 deaths. Despite the growing number of confirmed cases reported in China, the country is ensuring the situation is under control. Masaji Newin, China Media Group, CI Myanmar Department, explained more on this.
တရုတ်နိုင်ငံမှာဒီ COVID case တွေထပ်တိုးတယ်လို့လည်းကျမတို့သိရတယ်ဒီ case တွေနဲ့ဆက်ဆက်တဲ့သူအားလုံးကို quarantine ဝင်ခိုင်းထားသလိုဒီလူအများနဲ့ထိတွေ့မှုမရှိဖို့အတွက်အသွားလာနေထိုင်နေပေါ့နော်ကန့်သက်ထားတယ်နောက်လိုအပ်တဲ့တိုင်းတာစစ်ဆေးမှုတွေကိုပြုလုပ်သွားမယ်လို့လည်းသိရပါတယ်အခုတလောကတော့ဒီတရုတ်ပြည်မှာ COVID case တွေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်အနည်းစုတွေ့နေရတယ်ဟိုနေရာဒီနေရာတွေမှာဒါပေမဲ့ကောင်းမွန်စွာနဲ့ထိန်းချုပ်ကာကွယ်နိုင်တဲ့အခြေအနေဖြစ်နေသေးပါပဲဒီ case ဖြစ်ရတဲ့ဇစ်မြစ်တွေကိုထိရောက်စွာရှာဖွေနိုင်တယ်လို့ပဲဒီကာကွယ်ထိန်းချုပ်မှုလုပ်ငန်းတွေကိုလည်းမသွားပဲနဲ့တရုတ်အစိုးရအနေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်ဒီလင်းလင်းမြန်နဲ့အချိန်မီလှုပ်ဆောင်နေတာတွေ့ရပါတယ်တရုတ်တနိုင်ငံလုံးဒီယောဂထိန်းချုပ်မှုအခြေအနေတွေကတော့အခုဆိုရင်ဈေးတွေစားတောက်ဆိုင်တွေလုပ်ငန်းဝင်ဒီလိုစတယ်ပေါ့နော်အများပြည်သူနေရာတွေကိုကာကွယ်ထိန်းချုပ်မှုတွေကိုအပြည့်ထားတယ်နောက်ပြည်နယ်တွေမျိုးတွေကိုကူးသန်းသွားလာတဲ့နေရာမှာလည်းဒီလိုအပ်တဲ့စစ်စစ်ချက်တွေကိုပြုလုပ်ပြီးတော့သွားလာလို့ရတယ်ပြည်သူတဦးချင်းစီတိုင်းကလည်းဒီ hub kit လို့ပေါ့နော်ကျမရေးမှတ်ပုံတင်တာတွေကိုကြဲပြန့်ပြုလုပ်ပြီးတော့ဒီသွားလာရပါတယ်နောက်ပြီးဒီပြည်ပကတင်သွင်းတဲ့အေးစိန်ထားတဲ့အစားအစာတွေကိုလည်းတင်းကျပ်တဲ့စစ်ဆေးမှုတွေကိုလှုပ်ဆောင်နေတယ်လူနေရပ်ကွက်တွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပုံမှန်ထိန်းချုပ်မှုတွေဆက်လက်ပြီးလှုပ်ဆောင်နေရပေါ့နော်နောက်တစ်ခုကကျတော့ဒီအများပြည်သူတည်ယူပွဲဆောင်ရည်တွေမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကိုပူချိန်တိုင်းတာတို့ကျမရေးကုတ်တွေစစ်ဆေးတာတို့နောက် mask တက်တာတို့သတ်မှတ်ထားတဲ့ကွာဝေးနေတာတို့စသဖြင့်ပေါ့နော်ဒီပုံမှန်စစ်ဆေးမှုတွေကတော့ဆောင်ရွက်နေပါတယ်ရုပ်ရှင်ရုံတို့အားကစားရုံတို့ဒီပြတိုက်တို့ဒီလိုအများပြည်သူနေရာတွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းလူအကန့်အသတ်နဲ့ပေါ့နော်ဖွင့်လှစ်နေတာကိုတွေ့ရတယ်တရုတ်အစိုးရအနေနဲ့ကတော့ဒီကိုဗစ်အခြေအနေကိုလိုက်ပြီးတော့ဒီကန့်သတ်မှုတွေကိုသူတို့ကချိန်ညှိလှုပ်ဆောင်နေတာကိုတွေ့ရပါတယ်ရှင်
In global landscape, there are now over 16.5 million COVID-19 confirmed cases globally, with over 658,000 fatalities and more than 9.6 million recoveries, according to the latest tally from Johns Hopkins University. The U.S. has recorded over 4.3 million infections and over 149,000 deaths. The White House on Monday confirmed U.S. President Donald Trump's National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien has tested positive for the novel coronavirus, claiming there was no risk of exposure to Trump or Vice President Mike Pence. Some European countries, including Germany, France, Belgium, and the UK, are now tightening COVID-19 measures. The World Health Organization said on Tuesday the COVID-19 pandemic is one big wave and not seasonal like influenza.
Thus, the report on China ensures the outbreak is under control despite the growing reported cases. The goods flow in domestic areas has been down compared to the previous year by this time, where the freight transportations are affected by the impacts of COVID-19. Monsoon season is usually the time when this business faces a slight decline every year, but for this year, COVID-19 just makes the situation much more difficult for this sector. Willinson will tell us the full report.
As Myanmar is an agriculture-based country, it is exporting goods to other foreign countries, from rice to different other agricultural producers. But as the world economy is hit by the outbreak of COVID-19, Myanmar is also facing the impacts not only when it comes to foreign trade, but also domestic trade as well. As Yangon is the commercial city of Myanmar, where many of businesses are located, it holds a large part of goods flow in Myanmar. However, according to the report by the business persons from domestic merchandise associations and other local merchants, the domestic goods flow is hit hard by the impact of COVID-19. MOHS, the secretary of Myanmar Highway Freight Transportation Service Associations, and he spoke to MI Radio about the current situation of freight transportation. And he said,
ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီကိုဗစ်ကာလကုန်စည်ပို့ဆောင်ရေးလုပ်ငန်းတွေကတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အရင်ခါတိုင်းနှစ်တွေနဲ့တော့ပိုဆိုးသွားတာပေါ့ပိုဆိုးသွားတာဒီကျွန်တော်တို့
When it comes to freight transportation in domestic level, due to the outbreak of COVID-19, it has been much affected when we compare it to that of the previous years. Every day in this time of the year during monsoon season, the freight transportation usually is down because this business cannot go well in monsoon. The reason is most of the construction work has come to a halt and the farmers are in the process of farming. What is happening now is we're in crisis of COVID-19, which makes the condition worse. As I mentioned before, the freight transportation is usually down during this monsoon season, but for this year, COVID-19 just makes it worse. In the previous year, when the business was down by monsoon season, we tried to do the alternative businesses where we transported non-agricultural producers to other parts of Myanmar, such as Myavari. But now, due to some restrictions, we cannot even do the business now.
In the business of freight transportation, trucks are the most crucial transportation means for goods flow in Myanmar. According to the report by the business person from this sector, usually trucks numbering from 2,500 to 3,000 leave Yangon on daily basis, transporting the goods to different parts of Myanmar. But now only half of those trucks are operating due to the outbreak of COVID-19, meaning merely more than 1,000 trucks leave Yangon on daily basis. Oh King Han is the chairman of Myanmar Onion, Garlic and Culinary Crops Production and Exporting Associations, and he also spoke to MI Radio about how agricultural producers transporting to the domestic market is recovering, and he said,
The flow of the goods is not running normally for now. We still have some issue. For example, the flow of goods is not good. The sale is also a bit declining. If we take another example, while exporting goods to China, we cannot send the goods to China without including Chinese driver. So we have this kind of difficulty. Although this sector usually faces the decline of the business during monsoon season, this year due to COVID-19, the business has decreased by around 20% to 30% than the normal year. Other factors for the decline also contribute to the slow flow of the goods, where some businesses take a break as they cannot profit anymore and some changes the location of their business. But here in this Myanmar market, the situation is getting back to normal, although the workflow is not running 100%.
Udan Lai is a truck driver who has been driving truck for 6 years and currently driving back and forth between Yangon and Taungji, and he also spoke to MI Radio and said,
When COVID-19 first hit Myanmar, the number of journey we made was not many, but the journey was fast and long. As the situation is getting back to normal slowly, the number of journey we make is back to increase again, and that makes the workflow quite slow. One complete journey would take around 5 to 6 days, which means I make around 6 to 7 round trips in a month.
This is Williamson for MI Radio.
That's the report on the current situation of goods flow. Now to international news. Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, has stressed advancing the modernization of the national defense and armed forces. President Xi made the remarks while presiding over a group study session of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee on strengthening the modernization of the national defense and armed forces, which was held on Thursday. To uphold and develop socialism with Chinese characteristics and achieve national rejuvenation, President Xi underscored ensuring both development and security, and ensuring that efforts to make the country prosperous and efforts to make the military strong go hand in hand. Xi said the modernization of the national defense and armed forces must be in step with the country's modernization process, and the military capabilities must fit national strategic needs. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said his country must squeeze the brake pedal after seeing a warning light in the recent uptick of infections, as government scientists lost confidence that the COVID-19 reproduction rate was still below 1 in England. Johnson announced that further easing planned for Saturday will now be delayed for 14 days or more in England. The UK government has devolved responsibility for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland to the regional assemblies. Johnson broadened the scope of the requirement to wear face masks, which are already mandatory on public transport and in shops from Saturday, 8th of August. Johnson also threatened to censure employers who did not make workplaces COVID secure. When asked about people who felt apprehensive returning to the office among higher infection rates. The African Center for Disease Control and Prevention said the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases across the African continent reached 908,931 on Friday. The Africa CDC, a specialized healthcare agency of the 55-member African Union Commission, in its latest situation update issued on Friday, said that the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases across the continent rose from 891,199 on Thursday to 908,931 as of Friday, registering 17,732 new positive cases during the stated period. It was noted South Africa, which has so far reported 482,169 confirmed COVID-19 positive cases, is Africa's highest affected country in terms of positive cases, followed by Egypt, Nigeria, Algeria, and Morocco. The Africa CDC said the Southern Africa region is the most affected area in terms of confirmed cases, followed by Northern Africa and Western Africa regions, respectively. That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today Review. We'll be back next week. Until next time.